So I have a terrible memory. I don't remember what I said. I still don't know the answer to that question. My name is Jamie Lomax. I'm from Grove, Oklahoma, small town in northeast Oklahoma on the lake. I live in Owasso now, which is a suburb of Tulsa. My nuclear family is my wife, my two daughters, and my stepson. My wife, Kristen, my girls, Sasha and Kennedy, are 18 and 15 respectively, and Jacob is 11 years old. We're a blended family, have been together in this family unit for about 4 years. And it's amazing and has been really hard parenting across different kids who've been raised with different expectations and styles. Is exceptionally hard. My broader family hails from Oklahoma, born and raised, most everybody, and is Native American. So we have, well, I don't look Native at all. In my dad, in my grandmother, and my uncle, you could definitely see the Cherokee in us. And so the influence of that kind of quiet collectivism runs pretty deep in my life and in my work and in my parenting. The women in my family are incredible. My grandma, who passed a few years ago, 2014, was raised by her grandma. Her parents died before she was 5, and she just made a life for herself. And then when it came time for my mom, her eldest daughter, to go to college, and her husband, my grandfather, said, she's a girl, girls don't need to go to college. My grandma, who I called me mom, was like, oh no, that shall not be. So my mother was very smart, valedictorian. My grandpa still wasn't going to send her to college. And so my grandma, Mima, went back to work. She had, stayed home to raise kids. She went back to work. She sent my mom to college. And then my mom went on to get her master's and 2 masters and be the kind of woman, my mom became the kind of woman that her principal said, I don't know how you're married to her, to my father. I think she eats nails for breakfast. So I have a legacy of powerful women who have done what's right and inspired and pushed others around them to be better for my whole life. I think it's important that I'm out as a lesbian in the middle of the country, and that because I don't have to be out, right? Like, I present in a femme way, and so if I didn't say anything, people would rarely know. But I think it's critically important to be visible. And luckily, I haven't had a lot of pushback as a result of that. But that's one way I show up as my full self at work. At home, I think I'm struggling more with that these days, because my whole self is pretty tired as a result of the work that I do. So I don't think I'm bringing my best self. I think there's a difference maybe between best self and whole self for me right now. My whole self is pretty tired. My best self is able to process the work in a healthy way so that I can be fully present for my family. I have a dream of having this retreat. I don't know if it's a center or, that combines the equity work, social justice work with my background in theater and voice and movement and yoga and wellness, to create a space for women, especially across difference, to heal, connect, and become well. So 10 years ago, I had been in a school for a little under a year. So I spent my whole life up until that point in predominantly white spaces. And in 2008, I started working in a high school that was historically Black. And I was so clueless. I was brought in to implement a magnet program. And rather than capitalizing on the assets of the community, like me and the other white magnet coordinators brought in really traditional arts rather than arts that would have been much more of interest to the kids and culturally sustaining. So I really wish that I had known how much race mattered and had a clue. I didn't have a clue. I had a class full of kids who I didn't look like and I didn't understand nearly enough. And Davion was one of my kids, freshman, class full of freshmen. Now, freshmen are their own animals entirely. They're just their own mess. But Davion was angry, and I didn't understand why. And so instead of approaching him with compassion and like as a learner and a listener, I responded in kind. And like we had words, raised voices, and that was not necessary. It was not necessary. He had been wounded by a system that had failed him over and over, and then I failed him too. So I would go back and do that completely differently. I take in a lot of input from the environment, from other people, and feel with them. I love that. It's also hard. Feeling what other people are feeling a lot is draining, especially when I don't do a good job yet of identifying what is mine and what is theirs. So it ends up being both a gift and a challenge. My favorite song, and this has been true for decades, is Like a Prayer by Madonna. I would turn it on and I will dance until I fall on the floor. Ugh, I hate these kind of questions. I don't know. I don't have anything for this one right now. I was the only one talking, but I feel closer to you than when we started, which is a really cool thing.